Welcome back to episode 7 of the Lincolnshire Freemason Show. My name is Brother Watkin from Doric 362, and this evening I'm joined by the wonderful Simon Noden from the Lumley Lodge on the East Coast, and I'm also joined by Pete Richardson, who's from the north of the county. Simon, Pete, how are we doing this evening, gentlemen?
Very fantastic. Well. Seems ages since we got together.
Yeah. It's about 6 months, and I've been challenged to get to episode 21. Been a bit busy at work, boys, you know it is.
Yeah,
but basically, Stuart Pearcey's given me a kick up the backside, and we've got 5 or 6 sessions booked in the next few weeks, so we can get back to these episodes because we don't want to let Dave down, do we? Bless him, and the rest of the brethren in Lincolnshire. But anyway, less of this chat this evening, gentlemen. We are joined by Bob and Pat from the Armed Forces Lodge, which is Lincolnshire's newest Freemason lodge for people, hey, guess what, from the Armed Forces Lodge. Heard a lot of great things. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to split this into 3 sections, brethren. The first section is going to be with Pete, and he's going to talk about what the military connection is with Freemasonry as a whole. He's going to be asking Pat and Bob those sort of questions. We'll then move over to the wonderful Simon Noden, who'll be talking about the actual formation of the lodge itself in Lincolnshire, the Armed Forces Lodge. And then I'll finish off talking about the operation of the lodge, the impact and the future of the Armed Forces Lodge in Lincolnshire and beyond. So without further ado, Pete, let's go over to you and let's just ask Bob and Pat what the military connection to Freemasonry is all about. Over to you, mate. Yeah.
Okay, well, good evening, gents. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you.
Good. So yeah, we'll start at the top as we go. So can you share a little bit about your military background and what first introduced you to Masonry?
Shall I start with that one?
Bob.
I did 33 years in the Royal Air Force Regiment, and then joined the RAF Air Cadet organisation. And I was at a meeting to set up a marching band for the RAF Air Cadets for the Cadet 150. And I made a comment at a meeting, and somebody who I now know is a Mason came up to me afterwards and said, "Are you on the square?" I didn't understand what he meant. And it led to me joining Daedalus Lodge, which has a history with the Royal Air Force in 2008. It went on from then. So that's my military background.
Yeah, mine's slightly different. I did 22 years in the Army. I joined when I was in Boston in Lincolnshire. And towards the end of my Army career, I joined a lodge in London. It's unusual because it wasn't exactly encouraged at that time in the military to join Freemasonry. But I went ahead in my last 2 years. And I spent a lot of time then, having moved back to Lincolnshire after I finished, commuting to a London lodge. And I suddenly realised, well, why am I doing that? I've got a lodge 10 minutes away in Lincolnshire. So I switched to a Lincolnshire lodge, and it went on from there. Again, when the idea of the Armed Forces Lodge of Lincolnshire came up, I thought, yeah, I'll do that. And I thought I'd put my name down as a joining member. And as it is, I was then promoted by Bob to be a founding member. And then he found himself needing a secretary. And I was selected as secretary. And that great thing about never volunteering for anything in the Army went by the by.
Absolutely. So how do you think the values of camaraderie and brotherhood in the military align to the principles within Freemasonry?
Oh, 100%. There's no doubt about it. Interestingly, we've had a fairly senior member of the Armed Forces join Daedalus Lodge, and he said one of the things he was looking for is the camaraderie that is no longer there in the military these days because of the changes that have been made to mess life, to so much of it has been contractorized that the armed forces are almost becoming a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job. So it's a different philosophy for in the military these days.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with that. There's a great deal of banter between the three services within the lodge, and it reflects back to when I was in the army, and I can say that was the last century now. I left 1999, and again with mess doers, which are the formal dinners in the military. It's the same as the festive boards. It reminds you of that, and the discipline of having to turn up, learn things, get out there, do the ritual. It really echoes with what we used to do in the forces. So that's how it is for me.
Pat, if you don't mind just jumping in, is the banter between the three different services a bit like the banter between the different lodges in a centre?
In certain respects, yes, it is. It's probably a bit more biting. But
you haven't been to Grantham then, have you?
The thing is, we don't really mean it, and I mean it was the same. It was the same when we were serving. That there was always this banter between the services that would always have a go at each other. But it was always the case that when something happened, when we deployed into action, that the services really did come together, and it was because we had that mutual respect. But we also had that bit of banter. Again, like Bob, I'm not seeing it in the forces nowadays. It's a different ethos.
Yeah. Sorry, Pete, I had to jump in there.
No, absolutely. It's the same. Because obviously, when you were just saying that you left in '99.
Yes,
that was the year I joined. I joined up in '99.
Yeah.
So actually, when you're talking about the camaraderie side of it and the banter, because obviously, your army, Bob's at RAF, and I'm ex-Royal Marines. So
yeah,
Army, Navy, and Air Force here at the minute.
Yeah. We'll forgive you.
Oh, thanks. So obviously, after leaving the military, what aspects of Freemasonry provided you with a sense of continuing and belonging?
It's the sort of being part of something, a structured organization that is there to support others. And okay, we don't deploy overseas as such, but we do travel around, we visit other lodges, and it's that part of being something which is much larger, and that's very supportive in the same way as the services were, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree, Bob, with that. For me, it's the shared values. It's the fact that you can enter a lodge anywhere and know that the people that are in that lodge share the same values as you do. And once you've introduced yourself, and once you've politely declined to join some order or other, which is great, and you'd be great for it, then you can get to talking to people who have the same views, and this, knowing that what they're telling you is right and proper.
So obviously, on to the next question would be: was there a specific moment or experience in your military career that made you consider joining Freemasonry?
It's hard to pinpoint a specific moment, because up until someone approaches you, you really don't know an awful lot about it. It's not something you aspire to, but once you learn about it, and once you sort of investigated what it actually means, then you think, yeah, actually that does appeal to me, particularly the ethos of Freemasonry. So there's not one specific point, just someone approaching you and telling you about it.
Well, I knew of Freemasonry, but it was the people that spoke to me that I trusted, I thought a lot of, that encouraged me to join or to go and talk. And yeah, that brought me on. And ever since, it's been the people that have just carried it all forward for me.
Definitely. Why do you think? I mean, I think this question. I think a lot of people think. Why do you think so many ex-military personnel are drawn to Freemasonry compared to other social or fraternal organisations?
Well, again, it's the people and the camaraderie and the ready acceptance that they find in Freemasonry. We're not judging people. We are there encouraging them to be part of the organisation, to take part in the ceremonies, to come along and visit, and it being a sort of a fairly large part of their lives very often.
Yeah, I think they're looking for an ethos that reflects what they did in the military. And it's a very hard life out there in society at the moment. And anything that can take you away from that for an evening and provide that ethos has got to be good. And I think a lot of people are looking for something like that. And that's what we've provided for many years.
Thank you. Sorry, go on, mate.
No. I mean, like you say, it is something very, it's something special because from my side of it, I've served. My dad served, who is also a Mason. My elder brother served in the Royal Army Medical Corps, who is also a Mason, and even my little brother served in the Royal Horse Artillery, and he's in the lodge as well. So it's not only have we got it as a kind of the camaraderie from within the family as well, and obviously we do have the banter of the family because me and Dad are ex-Royal Marine Band Service. We were musicians, and then we've got an elder brother and a younger brother that are Army. So there's always that battle there, and even obviously, like you say, I'm at Temple Bellwood Lodge in Crowell, and we have lots of ex squaddies within the lodge as well. Our IPM is an ex tanky.
Yeah. Well, of course, you've got to remember, being part of the military, you're part of something where there's always somebody there with you. When you leave the military, you're cast adrift. The various charities are there to support, but not in normal life. So the Masons are a ready substitute for that camaraderie, the support network that people are used to within the military.
Right.
There's a big thing about as well when you're actually in a military lodge that you can actually talk to the brethren in the same way as you used to talk to people in the military, and you can say things that you probably couldn't say anywhere else. And
Uh,
in the way you would say it in the military without taking
any offence at all. Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
not deliberately, but it just you flow into that pattern.
You know what these civvies are like. Pete, thanks for that.
Right.
Right, let's move over to Simon. Simon, I'd like to talk. Could you talk to Pat and Bob about the formation and the purpose of the Armed Forces Lodge in Lincolnshire?
So, yeah, Bob, Pat, I was at the consecration of your lodge, and it was fantastic. I've never been to a consecration before, and it were anyone who's not seen one. You don't see them very often, do you? And it's fantastic to see. Obviously, Bob, Pat, you were the first secretary. Bob, you were the first worshipful master. Yeah. At some point, you guys must have sat down. You got together a group and gone, let's form a new lodge in Lincolnshire. Let's be the Armed Forces Lodge. How did that idea come about?
Well, it wasn't quite that way, Simon. It was the provincial DC tapping me on the shoulder at a meeting in Sleaford, saying, the Worshipful Masters signed the Armed Forces Covenant, and he's got an idea for an armed forces lodge within the province. And your name came up. In fact, it was myself and Dean Harlow's name were suggested as suitable individuals to see if there was an interest in having an armed forces lodge in the province. And so,
what I found.
Yeah, and again, with it being an armed forces lodge and military members, how's that work integrating, rather than an existing lodge?
Well,
you more or less answered that, haven't you? That it's that military background, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, the first thing in setting up was if we could find out if there was any interest across the province, and went out, and I had about 72 people come back and say they were interested. But there were also a number of blue light individuals that were interested, but the Worship Master really wanted it as an armed forces lodge. So perhaps there's another theme there for the future for Lincolnshire, and having a blue light lodge.
How many members are in your lodge at the moment, Bob? Because it's a big lodge, isn't it?
We had 34 founders, didn't we, Bob? And then at the moment we've got 48 members, and with 3 in the pipeline. So this year we're definitely going to hit the 50.
So it's definitely a good number, isn't it? And growing.
And we've had 4 initiates, and we've got 2 more in the pipeline. And it's because we only meet 4 times a year. Well, that's only 3 meetings where you can have ceremonies plus the installation meeting. So we're having to do multiple ceremonies to cope with the progression of the number of initiates we have. So it's going to be hard work for some of the brethren to get 2 and 3 individuals through second degrees and raisings in a reasonable time for the brethren that are joining Masonry within the Armed Forces Lodge.
Right. This next one, I'm going to ask you, Pat, as secretary, specifically to you, because everyone knows the secretary is constantly busy in the background. And again, I imagine the reams of paperwork you must have gone through. But what sort of unique challenges did you come across setting up the lodge, and how did you overcome them?
It's just like running a normal lodge. Once you get it set up, and I'm also secretary in my mother lodge as well. So once you get it set up, you know what you've got to do. The biggest thing, of course, is we don't meet in the same place every week.
Because I learned a word, peripatetic. Is that how you pronounce it?
It certainly is. It certainly is. So it means every time we don't meet at our home base, we have to apply for a dispensation from the Provincial Grand Master. And I have to remember then where we are and what time. And again, I have to go out to the members quite a few times to let them know where we are and what time we're doing it. But apart from that, the paperwork is the same. There's the same amount of paperwork in doing it. Although we do stress a few things. We like to know when somebody joins their previous military background, so I can put that on the summons so the brethren can see who's joining and where they've come from and what they've done. So we have a few more things to go through. I've been focusing, I was the membership officer as well for the first year. I thought keep those 2 roles together because I knew there would probably be a fair few joining members wanting to come in. So if I did both jobs and keep them together, it was easier to administratively to get them through and get them in. But apart from that, it is just another secretary's job, albeit with an awful lot of joining members in the first 18 months.
All right, Bob, the Armed Forces Lodge, how has it been received from the sort of wider community of Freemasons when you go out and about visiting, and the guys who have not been in the military?
Well, I think those that visit us are impressed by the quality of the ceremonies that are produced, because we've got some fantastic ritualists within the lodge. It's I don't know if it's because of their military background, but they just are very good. Individuals who step forward and they'll do the whole of the charge after initiation, or they'll do one of the tracing boards, and it's almost their party piece. But in addition to the normal, because we use emulation, in addition to the normal things, a number of them do the long piece. So it's almost a case of, right, now hang on, we're going to run so long on this. If we do all the long bits, we've got to keep it short. Looking around, I'm going to 2 initiations. I'm going to installation meetings. I'm going to one this Friday, one next Monday. Both are Armed Forces Lodge members that are going into the chair. And it just seems to carry on that way. We've got a lot of good Freemasons. And so when I visit other lodges, it's almost inevitable that somebody's going to walk up to me and say, Armed Forces Lodge, yeah, I've got a military background, I'm interested, can you tell me about it? So there's a huge amount of interest. Of course, in Lincolnshire, a lot of RAF, and we've even got some Army and some Navy that are interested as well.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think I've noticed from the ritual, I don't get involved an awful lot with that, but I do sit there and I watch it an awful lot. And I notice that there's a perception, there's a personal pride and a personal discipline in the people that come out there to do the ritual.
Yeah.
It's not a case that they've just been asked to do it on the fly. They've actually volunteered. We very rarely have to say to somebody, can you do this? There's always volunteers, and they always come out and they always do it, and it always is really, really good. I've been particularly impressed by the standard of ritual in the lodge.
Yeah.
Pat, you sort of touched on earlier about being the membership offer as well. So what do you think makes your lodge stands out in terms of purpose and experience it offers its members?
Well, obviously being military, they're going to be attracted to a military lodge if they've got that particular background. That's going to draw them in, and if we can get them to attend and see what's actually happens, that also really helps in bringing the members in. I obviously talk to them, and because we're both military, you have that sort of communication going. And they know I'm not trying to just up the membership and just get more and more people in. I tell them the truth about what's going on, what it is, what the ethos is, what we're all about, and the commitment as well. We do meet in various places, but we only meet 4 times a year.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. It's now time to hand over back to Chris.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Final questions.
There you go. Before we kick off, Bob and Pat, have a word with Mike Clay, because I know we've got some people in the province who've been working really well with Facebook advertising to bring new members in, and that works really well on a hyper-local basis. But I do know our team who do the Facebook advertising have come up with an idea on how to attract ex-military. So have a word with Mike. And then we might, they might be able to set up before, because I said I'm on the provincial membership committee and I've just heard that on the grapevine. So just bear that in mind, chaps. Right.
Chris,
okay. Yeah.
have you looked at our Facebook page?
Yes, I have. It's very good.
Have you seen the joining video there?
I will have a look at that. I'm talking more about Facebook advertising.
All right.
People need to know that the page is there.
All right. Okay.
You need an ad. You need to do Facebook adverts to get people to the page. And okay, there's some adverts, but yes, your Facebook page is one of the better ones in the province. Right, let's move on, and I'm just going to finish off, chaps, if that's okay. So I want to talk about the operational impact of the Armed Forces Lodge. So this one's to you, Pat. How does the lodge's travelling nature, this peripatetic, I can't even say the word, benefit its members, but also the Masonic community as a whole?
Well, it gets us out into the various lodges. And even if someone isn't a member, they're going to see that we're there and they're going to start asking questions and be interested in what we're about and what we're actually doing. And it gives other members of the lodge a chance to visit lodges in Lincolnshire. I mean, I've been to lodges I didn't know existed in Lincolnshire, which is great to see, and walk around and have a look at the boards, see who I know on the boards, and have a look at the actual buildings themselves.
And Pat, obviously, apart from your own lodge centre, what's been your favourite lodge centre in Lincolnshire? Obviously, all are equal, but what's been your particularly favourite?
I like Lincoln. I've not been there with the Armed Forces Lodge yet, but I do like the Lincoln Lodge. It's to me, it's just the atmosphere. Sometimes you can get an atmosphere from a lodge, and you think, yeah, I like this.
Excellent. Let's go to Bob. Bob, before I ask your question, what's your favourite, apart from your own, what's your favourite lodge centre?
I quite like Grantham. It's a nice building. The only problem with Grantham, of course, is car parking.
Car parking.
Yeah. And when we were looking to select places, what I laid down as master was that it's got to be big enough to hold the brethren and the visitors, because we're looking at 60, 70 people quite often. Reasonable food, decent car parking, and those three things in the main.
Well, Pete, you're Kroll. You've certainly you've got loads of car parking there, mate.
Plenty of parking at Kroll.
Actually, just for what's name and giggles, what's your favourite centre apart from your own? And Simon, I'll come to you in a second.
Barton on Humber.
Barton, interesting.
Yeah.
Why is that?
It's a lovely. It's just got that kind of old feel. It's a bit like if you ever go across the bridge into the dark side of the Humber, and there's Dagger Lane in Hull as well. They've both got this feel of history at Barton. Yeah, I mean, look, and I say that as well, obviously, because luckily I'm in chapter at Barton. So, but it's just got that feel, and Boston as well. I do like Boston. I like the entranceway to Boston with the two big towers.
Does look nice, then. Does look nice. Simon, what's your favourite, mate?
After Skeg Vegas, I'd probably be Grimsby, and it's when the room's full and you've got David Shepherd on the organ and that fires up, and it's electric. Just that organ does add to it. That when it's magical.
Okay, I'm sure I'm going to be driven out of the province, but my favourite outside my own is Leicester. Especially the older room. It's something special. It's like an old church, it feels amazing. But there you go. Anyway, I just thought we'd just go up on a little bit of a tangent there. Any Freemasons watching this, in the comments on YouTube, put your favourite centre, but you can't put your own because that would be very naughty. Okay, over to you, Bob. Okay, is there any special traditions or practices within the Armed Forces Lodge? Have you got peculiar gavels or something that's a bit strange, like driving tanks in, and what have you? Anything weird and wonderful that just makes people smile?
Well, of course, we don't have traditions at the moment because we've only been going for 16 months now. So we're developing our own lodge ritual, our own festive board ritual, our firing at the festive board. A lot of people fire 21, but they don't know why they fire 21. We fire 11. 11 is a 1-star salute. So that's just about the norm for, I think, most people. I don't think they'll be up into the 21-gun salute for the Royals. So it's the way we do it is also different. So we're looking at singing. I do like singing at festive boards. A lot of people in lodges that don't sing. So are we going to sing or not? The ritual itself, because we draw from so many lodges, they've all brought their own sort of wordings in to the ceremonies, and some of them we've added in, and we're developing our own ritual book now. It's out in draft. Festive board, again, we're developing it as we go along, and that's the beauty of it. Like any military unit, we'll rob anything to improve our own way of life, and that includes the wordings and the ritual.
I wonder if there's any lodges out there that actually follow that book religiously. Because I must admit, where I'm in Doric, we actually have to spend 6 hours going to the DC's house and scribbling bits out in pencil. And you think, why aren't we just following the book? Anyway, back to you, Pat. What role do you see the Armed Forces Lodge playing in strengthening the ties between the existing military and Freemasonry? Do you see that as a bridge?
Definitely in Lincolnshire. I mean, as I said before, it's somewhere where you can come after you've been in the military and find a home from home. And you can gain a lot of support from the people that are within the lodge, because you're both a Freemason and also an ex-serviceman. So you've got those two threads that draw you all together. And as Bob said, I mean, I left in 1999, and I've never ever been contacted by the military to ask how I am, how I'm doing. You just tend to be let to get on with yourself. So yeah, there is those two threads that you can certainly draw on, and we're there. And I mean, you don't even have to be a member of the lodge. You can come to us as ex-servicemen. We've got that as well.
I would like to just do a follow-on question and then leave the final question for Bob. But Pat, how do you plan to expand the membership of the lodge? And that's both internally within existing brethren in Lincolnshire and people who are not brothers already.
Well, so far we've done really, really well by word of mouth. We've got more people joining because they know somebody that's in the lodge, and also on the website we've had a few people come in through there. We probably need to do a bit more work on publicising it around the province. But I mean, starting with 34 and being 2 off 50 in 18 months, it isn't bad at all. And I can see us going from there. If we didn't do anything at all, I'm sure we'd be up to 70 by next year.
There's not many lodge rooms that could take 70 people, is there? Simon, you get around a bit, don't you?
That is going to be a problem. But the good thing about the lodge is, when we do have a problem, like how do we fit more ceremonies within the time frames that we've got, we sit around and we solve it. And that's the military ethos. If you've got a problem, you sit down, you sort it out.
Excellent. That's what we like to see. Right. Final question to you, Bob, is if you were to leave a message for current or future members of the Armed Forces Lodge, what would it be? If anyone's listening to this, be they someone who's in the military at the moment in Lincolnshire, who's not a Freemason, or someone who is a brother already and ex-military, what would your message be to them?
The Armed Forces Lodge carries that camaraderie of the military on. We embrace new members, be they joining members or initiates, and we will support you out to the future. And even our arms collections and so forth are being geared towards supporting the military. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Pat, well, Bob, thank you very much for this evening. Pete, I'm going to come to you. What's the biggest takeaway you've learned this evening that you didn't know before, mate?
I think, like Bob said, I had heard there was an Armed Forces Lodge, and like Bob says, when you leave the military and there's no support after you come out, it's kind of, you get to the gates and go, see you later, let's go. knowing that there's this lodge now, certainly within Lincolnshire, that is going to support you and be able to, and have that camaraderie back as to what obviously, we're lucky to have within the military.
Excellent. Simon, what's your final takeaways?
If anyone's not took time to visit the Armed Forces Lodge, do so. It definitely is the Great Escape.
Hey!
I bet you've been waiting all night to say that.
It took me hours to write that.
Pete, if you're not a member yet, come and visit and
No, definitely.
be my guest. And we're at Spilsby Spalding on the third Saturday in March, and then I can't remember where we are in June, but if you send me an email, then I'll let you know where we are, and come along.
And not ladies and gentlemen, but the ladies might be watching this. There is the Armed Forces Lodge Facebook group where you can contact these wonderful brethren. Thank you very much this evening, everyone, for attending the podcast for episode 7. And Simon, myself, and Pete are making a commitment that we will do in 2025 at least 10 episodes, if not more. And that is a commitment that we have made to you publicly. And if we don't, we all need lining up and shooting like a military firing squad. There you go. You've heard it here now. And none of us want to get on the bad side of Stuart Pearcey, our communications boss.
No.
So there you go. We're promising to do 10 this year, brethren. Thank you very much for watching this. I learned so much from this. I know I want to thank Simon and Pete for your efforts. Pat, Bob, thank you for this. The next podcast will be with Noel Fisher, the outgoing provincial DC. I know we had Andy Ham at the last episode talking about him taking the mantle up, but we're going to be talking to the wonderful Noel, and he's going to be sharing his stories about walking around the room with his big stick. As Simon rightly said, floating effortlessly around the room, telling us all how to do our ceremonies. So thank you very much for watching this. We will see you next time for episode number 8, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Wave goodbye, brethren, to everyone. See you on.